Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai-chan here. You'll have to forgive me, but I'm currently between houses, and my motion tracking gear is in temporary storage. Luckily, my program Wadudo has some good idle poses for me to work with. Anyway, I thought I'd do something exciting and different that I saw another channel do for Disney movies. Back in the old days of YouTube, before you could choose your own thumbnail, you'd have to pick from one of 3 auto-generated screen caps and hope to God there'd be something decent. Some creators specifically made sure they'd use a certain clip at the halfway mark to guarantee it as one of the options. This had me thinking, anime is a visual medium that relies on the screen for its storytelling. Ideally, you'd want every frame to have artistic merit. Still, we know that some frames are better than others. If you've ever had the pleasure of buying anime cells, you'll know that the good ones cost way more. I figure we could simulate that here on the channel. I've gone through over 70 anime and grabbed a random frame from each. Without any prior context, we'll go ahead and judge these frames as still art pieces. And as a fun game, see if you guys can identify which shows they're from. Let's see if our favorite anime can hold their own with just a single frame. First up, we've got quite the menacing frame here, don't we? Some thugs totally creeping on a girl who wants to get the fuck out of there. Quite fittingly, this is from the original Berserk anime adaptation. It's easy to tell exactly what's going on from this one image, and it's composed brilliantly. I wouldn't want it on my wall, mind you, but that's only because of the grim subject matter. It's clear a lot of care went into this one. Either you've seen it or you haven't, but this is from How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. It's not a bad frame. You might be able to glean that these girls are looking to join a gym. Beyond that, though, it's a flat composition. Not what I'd call a money shot. This might just do the trick instead. It makes for a better YouTube thumbnail anyway. Oh my. At first glance, you might think this is a hentai, but nope. It's Chizuru from Rental Girlfriend, caught up in an ecchi situation. Not a bad frame at all. The expression is done perfectly, and the framing leads you to wonder what's going on below. For all we know, she could be getting a foot massage. Yeah, right. If you don't recognize this frame, then you're missing out. Our favorite space cowboy just nabbed himself a bounty. As a single image, the characters are a bit messy, but the angle makes up for it. Got a fisheye lens effect capturing the full width of the convenience store. It makes for a nice panorama. However, I suspect the money shot would be here, coming right after. Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am. So far, this is the first frame I'm not a fan of. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I wouldn't have recognized this as an EMT outfit she's holding. On its own, I wouldn't have known that was a woman. I suppose it's fine in the story, but it needs other shots to contextualize it, like this one right here. There's a lot more you could glean from just this wider shot. Next, we've got this fearful woman screaming over a cliffside with an angry man pulling her back. There's a sense of urgency and drama. If not for the morbid nature of this, I'd want to frame it. It's a shot from Magi, which is a really great show. Perhaps it's better recognized through this frame, which actually features a main character. Gotta say, this is a decent image here. Some hooded wizard floats over a crowd of onlookers. It's a bit lacking in emotion, though, mainly because we can't see anyone's faces. Does make you curious to know more, though, and that's important. Hopefully, you can tell this is from Sword Art Online. If I had the freedom to choose my own frame from this episode, it would be this one. It's more dynamic. Can't really hide the fact that this is from Grand Blue Fantasy. It's alright. The intentionally sloppier line art pairs well with that gorgeous background. That said, there's nothing memorable here. I think this would make a much better money shot, but I suppose we can't win them all. Anime shots that look like they came right out of a manga panel tend to work really well for this type of exercise. The girl here's got an interesting expression of shock and dread, but in a comedic way. Well, this is Kiruko from Heavenly Delusion, a totally underrated series I hope gets renewed. I can live with this frame, but I'd much rather something like this, which tells a story all its own. While this ain't anything to write home about, it's perfectly fine. Gojo from My Dress Up Darling takes a closer look at Marin's outfit. He's nervous, yet taking things seriously. I like how you can tell it's Marin from her painted nails. Again though, I think this shot does a much better job at catching my interest, not just because it's an upskirt, but because it's more striking overall. On the surface, this could be taken as a boring shot. Too much floor, perhaps. However, I like the way it contrasts a dejected Okarun from Dandadan with Momo's displeasure. Overall though, I wish I pulled this follow-up shot instead, which makes it more obvious Momo isn't just a passerby. If I really got to choose a frame from this episode though, it'd be this. Wha-bam! Here, we have some athletics chicks, one of whom looks annoyed. Too bad the central girl is facing away from us. This is from the Hideaki Anno classic Gunbuster. It's a shame, since this frame is so close to one of the anime's main money shots. I almost rolled perfection. Gotcha's a bitch. Okay, I really like this frame. We've got a girl on a moped stuck in a flooded street. She's looking up at a boy climbing up a truck. This is a shot from Makoto Shinkai's Weathering with You. It's funny how, if you don't know the story, you're left wondering how they got into this situation. If there weren't any urgency, it'd be pretty stupid to just drive into a flood. I've seen plenty of fail videos of dudes pushing their luck, only to get stranded. I really wish I could have gotten a better shot of Natsumi. She's mega hot. Gotta do a Shinkai waifu file someday. So, I think we could all admit this frame isn't Fate at its best. Got a fancy house in the dark with some weirdly dressed guy in white hair. It seems pretty chill, because it's a polite conversation. Without hearing the dialogue, it's not very interesting. That same scene has a better portrait of Rin looking cute. To be fair, the majority of Fate's runtime, anime or visual novel, is endless streams of dialogue. Here we have what's clearly a tavern for adventurers. It's vibrant, in the sense that there are various races present, hanging out in harmony. Well, except for the human and elf arguing in the center. What could they be fighting about? Of course, I have the answer. This is from Interspecies Reviewers, and the main duo is fighting about whether old elves or old ladies make for better brothel girls. Humans have shorter lives and look older faster. Usually we're turned off by that. From one elf to another, though, a girl might look young, but be hundreds of years old. Is it a matter of looks, or of the age number? Yeah, I love this show. I was hoping for something more exciting from this anime. Instead, it's just a group of school kids mulling over documents. The background is really nice, and the character poses are varied and expressive. However, if you've seen the anime Hyoka, you'd know it has gorgeous moments like this. So by comparison, there's better out there. There's no point hiding that this is Kill la Kill. The shot's okay. Ryuko's all beaten up in the rain, feeling sad. She's looking down at the ruins of her old house, but you wouldn't know it from this shot alone. It works for the story, but makes for a lame wall scroll. This silly shot of Mako would be much more fun. Oh, leave it to Satoshi Urushihara to deliver the goods. A topless female knight standing in a corridor with a gray old man walking through the door. This shot from Legend of Lemnir has obvious ecchi value, but I have to admit, every frame of this film is a work of art in itself. The shadows on her skin, clothes, and armor are all deliberate and stylish. Still, it's a shame we couldn't pull anything with her actual face. Then again, Instagram models love hiding their face in glamour shots. Why even bother then? This one's another dud. Obviously, it's a crew overseeing a racetrack, but as it's a crowd shot, the details are meant to be sloppy. Contrary to what this frame shows, future GPX Cyber Formula is actually gorgeous, doing a great job of capturing race queens and chrome features on all the kick-ass cars. You can see more from my waifu files on Mutsumi Inomata. This frame is another masterpiece for background artists. We really take for granted how amazing this stuff is. Pretty much every landscape could be submitted as a museum piece, yet there are thousands of them needed for a single film. The frame alone represents the beauty of a Japanese countryside being lived in. Funnily enough, this is actually one of the more boring shots from Mamoru Hosoda's Belle. You'd expect a money shot like this, but I suppose it's all a subjective endeavor. Another conversation shot. Your average anime high school boy talking to a cute girl, or at least what looks like a cute girl from her hair alone. She is though, I promise you. The shot's competently rendered, but we see these school buildings all the fucking time. Without the weird and wild context presented in Angel Beats, this individual frame falls flat. I much prefer the following shot of Yui being a goofball. It does a much better job of showing the soft light in the room and KyoAni's beautiful style. Speaking of KyoAni, is there any point hiding what show this is? If you haven't seen Violet Evergarden, do it now. I don't think it's possible to get a bad frame from this show, but unfortunately, there are much better ones out there. Without context, Violet's very pretty, and the scar on her cheek leaves us curious how she got it. Beyond that, though, it's a basic portrait. More compelling would be a similar shot of Violet bleeding and tearful on the battlefield. Sure, it's not as pleasant, but it is more dramatic. Oof. This frame's just awful. Good luck guessing what show this is from. It doesn't help that this frame is taken from an earthquake effect, so it's muddy by default. Not a bad background painting, though. Let's see if a frame from this anime's remake fares any better. There we go. Here's a tomboy confronting a whiny kid among a hall of soldiers. This is from the anime Bastard, which has an older OVA and a more faithful remake. That said, the composition's a bit flat and lacking in texture. A better frame from the old OVA would be my go-to as a work of art. A lot of modern anime slacks in the line art. For the classics, though, its rough yet precise details are emblematic of the era. The same can be said of this frame, which is an absolute banger. Hopefully you don't live under a rock, as it's from the end of Evangelion. Still, without knowing that, this is an amazing set piece of kaiju-style warfare. A giant humanoid confidently strides on as ships open fire on it. The smoke pluming in the background indicates the threat of what's to come. Definitely one of the better frames in this list. The only shot I think tops it would be the one where Asuka blocks missiles with a crumpling battleship. Which one do you like better? Personally, I think this frame is mid. It's fine on a technical level, but the subject matter is too mundane. It's a dude chilling out in a bedroom of some sort. Clearly, Clannad has much better material to work with. From that same dormitory, we could get a fun action shot of Misae rushing down the hallway. Next, if you can recognize the anime from this frame, I'm impressed. It does a terrible job representing the show overall. It's not bad on its own, I suppose. Funny how when anime shows businessmen and politicians, the style is more photorealistic. I suppose it helps separate boring NPC characters from the main cast. The contrast is clear from this frame showing off Revi from Black Lagoon. Not only is she easier on the eyes, but her predicament makes you curious to know what's going on. She's being restrained, but is more annoyed than afraid. Her attitude comes out immediately. This is a case where I love the shot this frame comes from, but unfortunately, I pulled one of the less exciting in-betweens. If you watch my waifu files, you know this is from Dirty Pair Flash, specifically the first season's opening. It's a really cool spinning shot that's silky smooth, but this frame relies on the others to stand out. When the shot stabilizes, we get this amazing action pose of Kei and Yuri. I can only imagine how expensive the sell for this would be. Another background shot. It's a solid landscape piece of a children's park, and showing it at night is an interesting statement. Alone, though, it's a bit boring for my taste. Still, Call of the Night does feature a lot of silent nightlife. I'm not surprised this was our random frame. However, I wish we could have scored a shot of the sky, as this anime works with light beautifully. I could see this used as the thumbnail for one of those vibey YouTube study playlists. This particular frame tells two stories based on whether you know the context. Without it, it almost feels like a sci-fi shot from something like Ghost in the Shell. When you learn it's a bathtub, it feels more grounded in reality. The girl's expression conveys anxiety and trauma. Her fetal pose and full submersion conveys how she wants to escape from all her problems. It's a perfectly fitting frame to represent Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. Such a good movie. I feel the exact same sentiment about this frame. It's otherworldly. The extreme high-key lighting presents a contrast you'd see on the surface of the moon. A lot of amazing sci-fi anime have such an aesthetic, but this isn't one of them. It's from the eerily expressive film Angel's Egg. I like to think the film's meaning is up to interpretation, and this single frame provokes the same mystery and curiosity. Again, you'd have to live under a rock not to notice this is from Death Note. The show's lighting always feels a bit morbid, but aside from that, this is a fairly boring shot. We could get pedantic about how it frames Light's face and shadow, presenting him as dead inside, but it's not like that's a consistent stylistic choice. Instead, I'm more moved by this shot of Ryuk. I ask you, are you my master? Another dud. Two grumpy-looking students overlooking some kind of crowded event. It's more interesting without context, as your imagination can run wild, but in the broader scope of Food Wars, this is incredibly boring. None of these guys are main characters, and they're merely commenting on the real centerpiece, the Shokugeki. This, by comparison, would have been a much better pull, and not just because Ikumi Mito gives me wet dreams. Holy shit, this is certainly one of the more striking frames in this video. Some lady, illuminated from the dark void around her, peeks from the shadows with a shiny tiara. Her hair is insanely detailed, and the shot features 4-tone cell shading. The OVA for Record of Lodoss War is filled with shots like this, but I don't know if I could pick a better standalone image. While I won't call this a dud, it's not the most exciting shot either. Dude's clearly uncomfortable, but we can only imagine why. Only through the episode itself would you know he's trying to jog, and clearly isn't athletic enough to keep up. Surely the ideal frame from Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro would feature the titular character. This perspective is strange, as it makes her look taller than the house behind her. Context would indicate that she's on top of a hill. Can't hide this source. It's Lum from the Urusei Yatsura remake. I think it's fairly obvious she's on a spaceship and totally pissed off about something. Most of the time, it's her lover Ataru flirting with another girl. Not a bad shot, but nothing too special either. If I were to frame a shot from this episode, I'd prefer something from the opening. The composition here is spot on. Oh, I love this. It's a notebook with sketches of a busty woman in her sports car, filled with dense commentary. Being able to read Japanese allows this frame to tell a story all its own, describing not just the woman, but the notebook's writer. Of course, this is a page from Kintaro's notebook in Golden Boy. It's a great frame because it lets us focus on details that otherwise vanish too quickly. Still, if we wanted a more iconic shot, this one of Kintaro worshipping the toilet does the job. Oh great, a scraggly old man in the dark. It's very striking, just not my favorite subject matter. The style is unique enough that you should be able to identify it's from Chainsaw Man. I can't help but feel this shot needs another layer of shadows. It's deliberately minimalistic. Personally, I prefer this shot of Denji, though it does have that same minimal shading. And you don't seem to understand. A curious schoolgirl bathed in white, standing in a bright void. There's little story being conveyed here, but the atmosphere is strong. Good luck understanding Serial Experiments Lane even with full context, though. I think all this negative space is appropriate for the anime's philosophical themes, but I must admit, This frame is a bit stronger. The girl's expression is disturbing, and the power lines almost look like a noose coming for her neck. I love the sense of depth with the towers in the background fading into the fog. Another salute to the phenomenal background artists in anime. The overexposed lighting makes this town feel ethereal, or sterile, minus the growing foliage on the wall. Without context, one has to wonder why a city would have such a tall barrier around it. Obviously, this is Attack on Titan. Though, the fact it's so obvious is a testament to the show's iconic world-building. Score! You know damn well a cell of this frame would sell for a high price. Too bad it's from the digital era. Still, this frame screams classic anime voyeurism. Again though, I'd prefer to see a face. How else are we supposed to know we're watching Harukana receive? This nearby frame would have made for a better poll, as it conveys the situation, location, and attitude all in one, while still offering the goods. I think it's pretty bold when an anime casts an entire shot in shadow like this. It's accurate, giving the sense that just up that hill, the lighting will change. The simplicity here, ironically, conveys a more realistic mood. In terms of content, you'd be curious why a group of children were going on an expedition. What on earth is the middle kid carrying on his back? It's not bad, but after knowing the story of Made in Abyss, this shot of Rico and Reg would probably be more valuable. Alright, some dude in a hallway with his back to the camera. Funny how the shot's framed from the ground, right behind some dude's ass. We usually see this kind of shot with a waifu in the foreground. I'm impressed if you guessed this was from Armitage III. Context makes the shot much more interesting, knowing the guy's a criminal suspect in an airport. You wouldn't know that on its own, though. I'm frustrated because that same scene has my favorite single frame from the entire anime. It's extra sexy in episodic form, as the 4:3 aspect ratio ducks deeper along Armitage's torso. The theatrical release crops it. This one's funny. An angry girl grabbing a scrawny old man by the collar. What did he do wrong? What's in the bag on his back? He's acting all innocent, but if you've watched Ranma 1/2, you'd know he's a serial panty thief. This is a great shot, but if we want to capture lechery in a single frame, we might be better off with this one. The pose is so chaotic, and I love it. Another dud. Two boring, ugly dudes hanging out in the shade. One's annoyed, the other embarrassed. The background steals the show, presenting a decrepit city falling apart as moss grows wherever it can. For sure, the film Bubble has way better shots. This one may not have the same background, but I'd much rather have a waifu on my wall. This frame happens to be very misleading. Good luck guessing what it's from. I think these are two submarines, given how dark the background is. What's with that dome in the back left? Not bad for an establishing shot, but I wouldn't want to pay for it. That frame comes from the ecchi series Agent Aika, which in my opinion is underrated and totally fun. I feel like Bennett the Sage and other AniTubers have ruined the reputation of my favorite 90s classics. How could you not love this? I'm tempted to call this frame a dud. More high schoolers doing boring high school things. Lighting's not half bad though. There's a warm glow to it all, but it's clear we're looking at an in-between from the opening credits. Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian, has much better frames, like this portrait of Alia's sister. This one's also pretty weak. Ao no Hako, or Blue Box, is a cute sports romance, but you wouldn't be able to tell from this one frame. Just a boy looking flustered about something. A few frames later, we'd get this funny expression. Still not my favorite, but it better grabs my attention. I feel like the text AD Police gives this frame away, but not if you have no clue what the AD Police are. They seem to mean business though, as one of their trucks pulls up to a soldier cast in silhouette. The lens flare is awesome, as is the street perspective. That said, if we're going with a frame from the intro scene of Bubblegum Crisis, I would have loved it to be of Pris during her concert. Am I being biased here, or do you agree? I think we got lucky with this frame. A girl at an aquarium, staring into a tank of fish, but it's framed from the fish's perspective inside the tank. Couldn't ask much more of a random frame from Aquatope of White Sand. This show's all about its characters learning about themselves and taking steps forward in life while maintaining a humble aquarium. This one's not bad, though there are certainly better. A hero, elf, dwarf, and priest sit in the moonlight beside a tavern serving food. It's peaceful and chill, which is often the tone seen in Frieren. Those who know the show would probably find this frame more entertaining, though. Here's a shot that feels like we're a fly on the wall looking in on a family's life. A girl clings to her stuffed swordfish, seemingly embarrassed as her mom and little sister leave the room. Pretty self-explanatory. The following cut is more impressive to me, though. The tearful expression of Akibi from Akibi's sailor uniform is too adorable to ignore. Oh, here's another perfect frame. Janitorial staff from a theme park slacking off on the job, completely unmotivated. No wonder there's hardly anyone in attendance. Appropriately, this is a frame from Amagi Brilliant Park. The only thing that would make this better on its own would be a more decrepit situation in the background. The park isn't especially filthy, so perhaps the janitor is just suffering from heat stroke on a sunny day. I love Sailor Moon, especially the original 90s films. Usagi can be found crying like this all the time, making this a decent frame to pull. It sucks, though, when compared to a much more dynamic shot like this. I would love to have this as a wall scroll or something. The style rocks, but now I'm kind of mesmerized by how huge her chin is. Somehow it works, yet makes absolutely no sense. How does that happen? Can't go wrong with a frame from an idol performance. Studios usually bring their A-game to make these moments special, unless they cheap out and use CG instead. Oshinoko doesn't stoop that low, and this shot of Ai Hoshino proves that. Without context, though, you'd have no idea just how troubled Ai is backstage. To the uninitiated, someone might mistake this for a more typical idol show. A decent frame here as well. A girl running through the forest, looking to the side at something. Just barely, you can see numbers printed along her neck. This is Emma from The Promised Neverland. Aesthetically, it's great, but you can't tell much about the story from it. Even a frame like this can at least imply she's from an orphanage. Still, neither of them hint at the show's darker twist. Gotta reach the end of episode 1 for that. This frame is just goofy. Dude in a tracksuit bathing in light from below, laughing comically. Naturally, this is Kazuma from Konosuba. He's laughing at Aqua upon getting revenge on her cruelty. You'd never know that without context, but after you've watched the show, this scene is very recognizable. That said, I'd have preferred this reaction shot of Aqua herself. It conveys something sinister yet hilarious is going on. Surprisingly, this show didn't wind up giving me a panty shot or cleavage. Instead, we've got two high schoolers talking along a stairwell. The perspective is pretty cool, but in the broader context of High School of the Dead, there are much better moments I could have pulled. This one, for instance, cleverly frames Ray from between a zombie's legs in the foreground. It sucks pulling a frame from before the action even starts. This one's really pretty. A girl pointing up at the stars in the night sky. There's a luminescent haze over everything, giving the shot a magical quality. That magic is appropriate, as this is a frame from Slayer's Perfect, otherwise known as Slayer's the Motion Picture. You don't even need to know this is Lena Inverse to enjoy the composition. However, I have to admit this actual money shot of her mid-spell is fucking badass. I don't think a single frame from the newer Slayer series ever gets this cool. Here's another one you'd be unlikely to guess, as it's very misleading. Some fiery dude hurls a sword through the air. Let's be real, is that even a reliable tactic? The shot's really great, emanating an Olympian vibe. Can you believe this is from Kobayashi's Dragon Maid? Obviously, this frame would have made that much clearer. It'd make for a classic Valentine's Day card. Here's some more amazing background art. This city looks ominous and completely unkempt. The perspective is compelling, singling one building out among the urban sprawl. A figure can be seen on the roof, but it's too small to make out on its own. This is one of the later shots from the first Kata no Kyokai film. Without knowing that, you wouldn't know Kirie Fujo is about to leap to her death, following the many girls who have made the leap before her. Still, I think the shot makes sense the moment you find out. I'd rather this shot, though. There's something enigmatic about it. Why is Shiki so pissed? That raincoat isn't there to protect her from the rain. It's there to protect the outside world from her rampage. Shiki is anime's Chuck Norris. Of all the frames I could have pulled, I get the alpaca man and his dead stare. The shot raises eyebrows, that's for sure. Doesn't tell you jack shit about the plot, but if you've ever seen Steins Gate, you know exactly what this is. Do you prefer this, or the corresponding shot of Okabe and his future gadget lab looking into the TV screen? What a fun way to introduce your main cast. This particular anime is known for its striking still imagery. The strange high-contrast lighting on this townscape almost seems cubist. There's depth to the shape of the buildings, yet the bold shadows wind up flattening the composition, in a cool way. It's a frame from Monogatari, and you can see that style paired with characters in this other shot of Araragi cradling a super light Senjo Gahara. This is a wonderful show for individual frames. Nabbed a frame from this anime's opening. Oftentimes, high-octane animations will forego detail, mimicking a motion blur while simplifying figures to focus on the movement. This frame from Fire Force does just that. The shot overall looks nice through this technique, but not so much for a still frame. Just a few frames later, though, we get a better look at Tamaki in action, well composed with her flames darting across the screen. Just goes to show how we need all those more bland in-betweens to bring the money shots to life. Here's a decent portrait. Clearly portrays a locksmith or a thief-like character in a fantasy setting. Pretty much sums up Chilchuck from Delicious in Dungeon here. He's a decent character, but imagine if we got this frame instead. So intense. Sticking with a fantasy theme, here's an elf-looking girl illuminated by the sunset coming in from a nearby window. The warm lighting matches the kindness in her face. Such praise, and she's not even a main character. Danmachi's got tons of great shots, and while we pulled a decent one, this shot of Belle and Hestia has more emotional complexity. Who the hell do you think I am? Again, it's bold to set up most of a shot in shadow. The lights focus on the dudes to the right, while the framing makes the dudes on the left the stars, even though they're being backlit. It makes sense when you realize Gurren Lagann starts off underground with dark tunnels. This frame is exactly 5 minutes into the show, before anything crazy happens. I decided to grab the same timecode from the movie version, and here's what I got instead. More Kamina. He occupies the frame nicely, and it shows off his confident attitude. This one definitely tells a story. A young boy sitting between his arguing parents. A massive hole in the wall shows off the vast countryside behind them. This is Mushoku Tensei, following young Rudy's first successful attack spell. Should they be more excited about his progress, or upset by the collateral damage? For as great as this shot is, I wonder how it compares to this money shot of baby Rudy. This one expression brilliantly captures his lecherous side. In terms of portraying a disaster, this frame does well. A giant metal structure has crashed into a village alleyway, igniting the surrounding area in flames. A group of concerned villagers look on at the destruction, eclipsed by carnage. Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress is a beautiful anime, and even this establishing shot sets the mood. They have no clue a horde of the undead are about to climb up over that train. This show in particular likes to highlight its own money shots, switching to a more detailed style on key facial expressions. Personally, this is the kind of shot I was hoping for. Can't complain here. This is a perfect trio. A cute, excitable mascot in the center, standing in front of two girls who smile at its antics. This is cardcaptor Sakura. Kero can certainly get ahead of himself, and Sakura's embarrassment provides the slightest bit of harmless tension. Another neat in a tracksuit. Why is that so common for shut-ins? Unfortunately, this frame derives most of its value from context. By itself, it's just a dude trying to listen to a POV subject at what appears to be a fantasy marketplace. Curiously, there's some dinosaur-looking guy blurred out in the background. Only by watching ReZero would you know that this is the place Subaru often returned to after dying. Without that, the most interesting thing about the shot is how Subaru isn't dressed like the other people behind him. I'm more engaged by this frame of Amelia. It's angled upward, presenting her as empowered. Puck basically takes the role of MC, presenting her like a major figure. Oh. Here's one of the best frames in the video, easily. A split composition with a dead samurai on the left and a growth of flowers on the right. There's something grotesque about such beauty flourishing so close to death. It's a fitting contrast from Rurouni Kenshin's OVA, Trust and Betrayal. What a damn fine arrangement. Oh, well, this speaks for itself. If you want to know about Assassination Classroom, this frame sums up most of it. A group of students being taught by a smiley-faced alien. The only thing it's missing is how the students are tasked with killing their own teacher. The frame's not exactly mind-blowing, but it doesn't need to be. Finally, we actually land directly on a main character portrait. A well-dressed young man holding up a chess piece. Such is emblematic of Lelouch from Code Geass. Knowing nothing else about him, it's safe to say he's a man of strategy and intellect. In fact, this is the shot one could use for his personal profile. With that, we've gone through 73 different anime series. Based solely on the frames I first pulled, and not the ones I suggest afterward, here are my top picks. Rurouni Kenshin, Slayers, Amagi Brilliant Park, Bubblegum Crisis, Record of Lotus War, Angel's Egg, Perfect Blue, Evangelion, Belle, Weathering with You, Magi, Cowboy Bebop, and Berserk. What do you think of my personal art gallery? Which of the pics in this video would you frame on the wall? If you want me to try this style of video again, be sure to let me know in the comments. Until next time, celebrate your fandom!
Thanks for watching. This channel relies on support from viewers like you.
Please help us out by dropping a like and comment. Subscribe for more videos, and be sure to enable notifications. Or hit up our Discord so you never miss out on a new upload.
Most importantly, if you can spare it, please sign up as a channel member, either through YouTube, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find links in the description. We've got perks like exclusive content or early access.
Until next time,
Celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. Video Gamer 75, Dante Pendragon, Stephen Elak, Otaku Mom, Mystic Samurai 1983, Free Brick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Saul Soto, Tristan Riggin, Major, Winter's Edge, Sneer Cachette, Sunbro Torian, Dionysus, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Sith Lord 906, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Kengo X77, and Alistair Bernadotte. Thank you all so much.